In 1855, a railway guard helped steal 12,000 pounds in gold and replaced it with lead. In 2013, an FBI agent stole $820,000 in Bitcoin from the very criminal he was supposed to be catching. Same crime, 158 years apart. And in both cases, the man who built the system got a life sentence. The insider almost walked free. This is the story of how the key always ends up in the wrong hands, and why it never changes. Welcome to the history of money and gold. London Bridge Station, May 15, 1855, late at night. 3 heavy iron safes are being loaded onto the overnight train to Folkestone. Inside each safe, wooden boxes bound with iron hoops and sealed with wax. Inside those boxes, 12,000 pounds in gold bullion, headed to Paris. The security design was considered flawless. Each safe had 2 locks, 2 separate keys. One key stayed with railway staff in London, the other stayed with the captain of the cross-channel steamer. Nobody could open those safes alone. 2 keys, 2 people, 0 room for error. The system was perfect. The people inside it were not. James Burgess had worked for the Southeastern Railway for 13 years. Married, respectable, trustworthy. His colleagues described him as the model employee. He was also the guard assigned to the overnight train, the man who rode alongside those safes all the way to the coast, which made him the man William Pierce chose. Pierce was a former railway employee who knew exactly how gold shipments worked. He recruited a skilled safecracker named Edward Agar and a railway office clerk named William Tester. Tester had access to the safes during a repair window. He pressed the keys into wax, took impressions, made copies. Nobody broke the locks. Nobody cracked the system. They just copied the keys. On the night of the robbery, Agar slipped into Burgess's guard van before the train departed. As the train moved through the dark English countryside, he opened the safes, removed the gold bars, and replaced them with lead shot. The same weight, the same feel, sealed back up and relocked. By the time the train reached Dover, the boxes looked exactly as they had in London. The safes arrived in Paris. Officials opened them. Lead. All of it. Lead. 4 separate police forces investigated for over a year. They found nothing. The robbers had melted down the gold and were quietly living their lives. The heist was described in the press as impossible, until Agar got arrested on an unrelated forgery charge and asked his associate Pierce to send money to his partner Fanny Kay and their child. Pierce kept the money. Fanny Kay went broke. And Fanny Kay walked into a prison governor's office and told them everything. The Great Gold Robbery was solved, not by detectives, not by forensics, but by a woman who got cheated out of her share. Now change the scene entirely. San Francisco, 2013. The FBI and DEA are running a massive investigation into an anonymous online marketplace called Silk Road. It operated on the Tor network and used Bitcoin for all transactions. The man behind it called himself Dread Pirate Roberts. His real name was Ross Ulbricht, a 29-year-old physics graduate from Texas who had built what prosecutors would later call the most sophisticated criminal marketplace in internet history. Ulbricht was a libertarian idealist. He believed in free markets without government interference. By the time the FBI caught up with him, the platform had processed over $200 million in transactions. But inside the investigation, something else was happening entirely. Sean Bridges was the Secret Service's lead computer forensics expert on the case, Bitcoin specialist, full access to Silk Road's technical infrastructure. Carl Force was the DEA's lead undercover agent, 15 years of service. He was personally messaging Ulbricht in character as a trusted drug smuggler named Knob. 2 men, deep inside, every key to every digital door in their hands. They saw exactly what Burgess and Tester saw in 1855. The gold was right there, and they were the only ones close enough to take it. During the investigation, they arrested a Silk Road administrator named Curtis Green. Under pressure, Green showed them exactly how the platform worked, how to reset passwords, how to access accounts, how to move funds. Bridges took notes. Then, he used Green's admin credentials to lock out Silk Road's top vendors and drain their Bitcoin wallets into his own accounts. $820,000 in a single operation. Force went further. He secretly created a second unauthorized persona called French Maid and used it to sell Ulbricht inside information about the investigation. Price: $100,000 in Bitcoin, wired to a personal account in Panama. In 1855, Tester pressed the key into wax and made a copy. In 2013, Bridges copied the admin credentials from a screen. Same move, 158 years apart. And just like the 1855 robbers replaced gold with lead to cover their tracks, Force and Bridges created false transaction trails across multiple exchanges. Bridges even used his official authority to freeze accounts at the Mt. Gox exchange, accounts he had just moved his stolen Bitcoin into. He froze his own crime scene. Now, here is where the two stories split. The 1855 robbery was solved by a human betrayal. Fannie Kay, cheated by Pierce, walked in and talked. Bridges and Force were caught by something that cannot be bribed, cannot be threatened, and does not care who you work for: the blockchain. IRS agent Tigran Gambarian traced every transaction. Every single Bitcoin movement was permanently recorded on the public ledger. The trail from Silk Road to Bridges's personal accounts was mathematically airtight. In 1855, a human had to betray the thieves. In 2013, the mathematics did it automatically. And now the part that should make you genuinely angry. In 1855, Edward Agar, the mastermind from outside the system, was transported to Australia for life. James Burgess, the trusted insider who handed the robbers everything, received a significantly lighter sentence. In 2015, Ross Ulbricht, the outsider who built the platform, received 2 consecutive life sentences plus 40 years. No possibility of parole. Carl Force got 6.5 years. Sean Bridges got 6. Both were out within a decade. The insider always pays less. The outsider always pays everything. One more thing. The corrupt agent's involvement was known to prosecutors before Ulbricht's trial. The jury never heard about it. The evidence used to convict Ulbricht had been handled by men who were simultaneously stealing from the very investigation they were running. Ulbricht sat in a federal prison in Arizona for 11 years. Then, on January 21, 2025, Donald Trump signed a full and unconditional pardon. He had promised it at the Libertarian National Convention. The crypto community had spent over $100 million to influence that election, and Ross Ulbricht was their symbol. Trump called the original sentence ridiculous. Months later, Ulbricht gave his first public speech at the Bitcoin 2025 conference. Standing ovation. So, pull back and look at the full picture. Burgess held the gold key for 13 years, trusted and untouchable. Then he sold it. Bridges and Force held the digital keys to the most important crypto investigation in history. They sold those too. Ulbricht built a market on the belief that mathematics was more trustworthy than governments. He was right about the math. He just didn't account for the humans guarding the system, who were watching its value go up the entire time. Whoever holds the key holds the gold. and the key is never as safe as you think. Because the man you trusted to guard it always knows exactly what it's worth. 1855. Wax impressions in a candlelit office. 2013. Admin credentials copied from a laptop screen. 2055. Whatever comes.